Oh, hello. Do you think that Big Brother is watching? Or that the Illuminati is planning to take over the world? Have you had an encounter with a space alien today? If the answers to those questions is yes, then grab your hat. This is tinfoil hat time. Welcome back to Switch to Linux and tinfoil hat time. I hope you guys all grabbed your hat because we are going to be over here talking about Planned Obsolescence. This is the episode a lot of people ask me about. It's been about 3 weeks or so since we had first talked about this, and it started when is it Ricardo, I think, mentioned the Lightbulb Conspiracy. So, the Lightbulb Conspiracy, if you did not get a chance to watch, is about Planned Obsolescence. And so we are going to have a little bit of a discussion today on Planned Obsolescence. So, I gotta make sure my hat's adjusted. I usually do that when we, as I'm getting ready here. First time I've had to do that intro live, and I kind of liked it. It was kind of fun. All right, so Lightbulb Conspiracy is about the conspiracy behind Planned Obsolescence. And if you watch my video on Monday of this week about pros and cons of consumerism, where I filmed it with the backdrop of the business building at Penn State main campus, then you know I've been asking about and thinking about and soliciting comments and thoughts about consumerism throughout this week. And, I mentioned a lot of neat things going on regarding that topic. So we're going to be talking about Planned Obsolescence today. So if you did not get a chance to watch the Lightbulb Conspiracy, it started out with a discussion of the light bulb, the century light bulb, which has been burning for probably better than 117 years now. Imagine having a light bulb that lasts that long. Now, I just had to go buy some light bulbs today. Talking about Planned Obsolescence. I had to go to several stores before I could find warm white light bulbs. Finally found them at Lowe's. I go into Home Depot. The guy's like, Home Depot's just closer to where I'm at. And the guy's like, yeah, we got warm light bulbs. I said, where? Everywhere. He walks around, look at everything. Well, what spectrum? Like, what temperature range, whatever it is, which is the wavelengths, really. It's just, 6.5, of course, warm is actually 3K, so I misspoke there. But regardless, I knew I needed warm white light bulbs. And because I have a day lamp over here, and I finally got a warm lamp over here, if all of my lights in the studio are day lamp, I look washed out. So I need warm white light to produce the reds that give a good studio color. The guy's like, well, daylight should work. No, daylight has too many light spectra. Can't do it. So there's even Planned Obsolescence in that. All right, anyway, that was a brief intro here. We're going to be talking about more than light bulbs today. Let me get caught up. Hello, everybody. So, hi Dan, hi Deb, hi Alma, hi Diego. All right. No Cooper Tech today? Did the Sasquatch get him? He'll be on. All right. So, with the Lightbulb Conspiracy talks about light bulbs, it talks about printers, nylon, a little bit on appliances, and I think it's a little dated. I didn't catch how old the thing was. But the entire documentary is about how some things are really planned and designed to fail. And of course, there's a few arguments. Some of the arguments out there are that the certain products out there, if they weren't designed to fail or if they weren't designed to need replaced, the economy would stop. Literally, that's one of the arguments. Well, if you know somebody who collects movies, you know the economy's never going to stop as long as Hollywood keeps making movies. Imagine what would happen to our collection if DVDs had a lifespan of only like a year or two. We'd have outrage. I don't want to buy a movie that I have to rebuy. Or maybe that's what the whole subscription thing is all about. Of course, check out my tinfoil hat time called Subscribing to Bankruptcy. And you learn that my thoughts and views is that I really believe that subscription services is what's going to drive America into bankruptcy finally, because everything is now subscription service. And we're going to get into that a little bit more here. With all of that said, I grabbed some things around the house with planned obsolescence, and we're going to talk in a little bit more detail about planned obsolescence. Obviously, you have, as I already said, things like light bulbs. So now these are these Utilitech LED light bulbs. I don't know. Now the advantage of these is this thing here is about a 40 watt, but it only uses 5.5 watts. And I like that. I like this new tech in light bulbs, especially since these were $1 a piece. They were on clearance for $2, and it's a pack of 2. Now, my concern, I said to the guy at the cash register, I said, my concern is they're on clearance because they're stopping making them, because this is the only warm white light bulb that would fit into a standard socket they had. Fortunately, it was a good one, so I ended up buying 2 packs of these, and I don't want a whole closet full of them, but certainly I got these. But if you think of it, there is a light bulb. This light bulb has bulb life, it says 4.5 years, 5,000 hours. So the Lightbulb Conspiracy goes into the talks and discussions about one guy developed a light bulb that was so good it would not burn out. You could break it, but it wouldn't burn out. But then light bulbs, what happened is there was literally, it was known as a conspiracy or an embargo really, where light bulb manufacturers agreed to cut the life down, and that's when light bulb lives dropped from like several centuries down to 1,500 hours. And you get a circumstance where a light bulb's down to only 1,500 hours, and then you need to replace it, and replace it, and replace it. Now a light bulb's pretty cheap, so we're not going to fault them too much for that. But at the same time, we have to ask, is that type of thing happening in other places? And the next thing that happened with planned obsolescence that they talked about in the documentary is printers. Now, I have a printer down here, which is actually a scanner because it stopped printing. A friend of mine's been through 3 of these. Finally just handed that one to me. He's like, it's pretty much dead. I don't need it anymore. And basically what happened there is that what they were saying is that printers have a chip inside of them. And I know this is true because in a Brother software, you can actually get into a software interface and you can actually look at the number of prints that the thing has done throughout the years. And the problem is many printers are set so that when that number surpasses a certain point, the thing just stops printing. Well, that's kind of stupid because then you have to go out and buy a new printer, and of course that takes new cartridges, etc., etc. Of course, we know the biggest obsolescence thing in printers, with inkjets particularly, is the price of the cartridges. And if you've ever taken one of those cartridges after, the modern printers, they will simply refuse to work after a certain period of time. If you've taken your ink cartridges after they refuse to work and cut them open, they are still half full of ink. Do not tell me the thing's out of ink. I want my printer to run and run and run until I have ugly lines on the paper. Because frankly, what I print, I don't need to be able to read it. It doesn't need to look cool. Okay, I just need to read it. And that's what I'm doing. So that's kind of how I would prefer my printers work. All right, let's go ahead and get caught up on the comments here. All right. Hello, Ryan. How are you? Mark, how are you? Planned obsolescence number 1, Apple. Yeah, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about that because I have an iPhone SE. Guess why I got this iPhone SE? Because the iOS 10 bricked my iPhone 5C. I had to go buy a new phone. Now, I'm not going to go out and pay $600 for this. I found it used for $300. We'll talk about that. In fact, I need to add that to my list. No. Let's do that. Item 4 on my list of solutions. We'll get into my list of solutions at the end. All right. Number 2, Unity desktop environment. If you caught it, Ahmed, Unity has released a blog post today. Well, Canonical released a blog post today. They are killing Unity. They're done with it. Unity 8's gone, which I think is sad. I liked Unity 7. It's not my favorite desktop, but there's a mystique about it I liked. I'd be very happy if Unity says, we're going to develop Unity 7 more. But Unity 8's just a... I think they finally realized how much of a train wreck Unity 8 is. There's a blog post today. Unity's done with, Ubuntu's done with Unity 8. I'm probably going to talk about that tomorrow. I'm going to push the Cubes tutorial back more. But yeah, number 2, Unity desktop environment. That is going away. However, don't say it's planned obsolescence. They're going back to GNOME. Oh, Lord. Do we need more GNOME? I don't know. Anyway. So true about Apple. Yes, rip Unity 8. It actually didn't really exist. No, just check out my videos. You will see how much it didn't exist. Nothing to see here, folks. It looks flashy and ugly. And I'm so happy that they're focusing back on the operating system and they're doing away with the stupid concept of convergence. Convergence needed to die from the very beginning. Now, can we all just get Microsoft to stop worrying about convergence? I'd be all over it. Thank you. I liked it being a Mac user. I'm not... Did they say it's completely gone or they're just stopping Unity 8? I know they're going with GNOME for the default, but I'm wondering if Unity 7 will still be an option. I don't know. I might explore this more tomorrow. All right, so let's get back to this for all the people that are not necessarily Linux guys that love tuning into tinfoil hat times. We'll get back to off of Unity. Like, what's Unity, huh? Unity, the desktop environment of Ubuntu. All right. The next thing they talked about in Lightbulb Conspiracy was nylon. And I did not bring a demo of this. I'm just totally lacking nylon for some reason. So with nylon, though, when DuPont chemists originally came up with nylon, it was so absolutely... I'm just doing a quick color correction on my camera here because I noticed I was like a little... Let's do that. Boom. Oh, do a little color correction there. Look a little bit better. I looked a little washed out, so I want to color correct myself there. All right. So they originally developed nylon. It was so strong, the company literally went back to them and said, you need to go make this weaker. And so now you have a company where the chemists had to make an inferior product. And there was actually, Lightbulb Conspiracy also mentioned the movie, and I forget the name of it now, where a chemist produced this polymer very much like nylon, where it resisted dirt, and I think it was called the Man in the White Suit, I think, or something like that. But it resisted dirt and resisted tears. So it's basically a suit you had to buy once, and it would never get dirty, and it would never break. And literally, there was a big conspiracy. The big companies were going to pay him something like $250,000. Now, this was in the 70s, so that's millions. They're going to pay him several, $250,000 or whatever to suppress how he built it. And that seems to be what went on in the light bulbs, because we had light bulbs that would barely ever burn out. Okay, but then what happens is they changed some things around there to make light bulbs with a finite lifespan, and so you had that type of thing happen. And of course, they also talk about the iPods. Of course, I have an iPhone here. Of course, what's one of those big things people don't like about iPhones? You cannot get in here and replace the battery. Now, Galaxy S5, you can still replace the battery. And after that, nope, you can't replace the battery. They say it's for waterproofing, but don't tell me it's for waterproofing. The Casio Commando was perfectly waterproof. In fact, a friend of mine had one. He went swimming with the thing repeatedly. It was perfectly waterproof with a replaceable battery. But then what happened is they highlighted a class action lawsuit against Apple because the batteries were only lasting like a year and a half. So after a year and a half, you have a device with a non-replaceable battery. It will not keep a charge. So what do? Well, you've gotten so used to it. And this is one of those problems with planned obsolescence and consumerism. You've gotten so used to having the device. When it stops working, you feel like there's a hole in your heart. And so you go and you gotta buy a new one. You gotta buy a new one. And that's what planned obsolescence is. The battery, while they could design it better, was designed to have such a finite lifespan. It was hard to figure out what to do with it. All right. Yep. XFCE is the sweet spot. XFCE is not too bad for desktop environments. I'm still a big fan of cinnamon. That's what I'm running here. Love cinnamon. Love to eat it too. It's very tasty, spicy. Excellent in coffee. Just put some cinnamon in coffee. That's pretty good. Yeah, I should do a cinnamon ice cream. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try making a cinnamon ice cream. See how that'd be. Anyway, let's see. Okay, so I think that's all they kind of mentioned there. But I went around and I dug around for a little bit more items in planned obsolescence, and I grabbed some other options here. Obviously, I didn't grab a printer here. I grabbed my light bulbs. I'm sorry I did not drag my refrigerator in here, but appliances are good examples of planned obsolescence. But let's talk about where sometimes planned obsolescence is... it's not necessarily planned, but obsolescence through industry, maybe. So, you know, I was out there. I like dragging my laptop out there and getting some work done outside, you know. Yeah. I'm glad I don't have to carry a laptop like this around anymore. This was, of course, designed for Microsoft Windows 98. Bad boy. Toshiba Satellite. Yeah. In fact, it still has one of these mice on there. Yeah, pretty nice. All right, so computer technology moves. Now, I would like to get this guy working again, though, because it has a COM port, and I can interface my calculator if I can get this COM port working. The only problem with this computer that I can identify right now is that the internal hard drive is broken. So if anybody knows where I can find myself a 2.5-inch IDE hard drive, let me know. I'd be interested. So with that, and planned obsolescence. Of course, this is a kitty. These guys go under planned obsolescence. Eventually, poor kitties die, and then you need to replace them. But hopefully, that's not for a long, long time. Yeah. All right. I came up with this good one. I know there may be some college students watching, so I have a chemistry textbook. This is the chemistry textbook that I used in undergrad. I want to say I paid like $100 for it. But here's the downside with textbooks. There is nothing worse in the industry than textbooks. And I used to work for an academic textbook company, and those people are the most unscrupulous bozos I think I've ever met in my life. The problem is, what changes from edition to edition? So in this book, and this is the most widely used chemistry textbook in freshman chemistry in college. This is Brown and LeMay's Central Science. This is the 7th edition. They're up to the 13th, I believe. And they release a new edition about every 3 years. You know what changes? Almost nothing. In fact, if I had somebody living in this house that wanted to study chemistry, I'd be like, yeah, go study chemistry. You can learn everything you need to know about freshman chemistry from this edition of this textbook. You do not need the 13th. But the problem is the 13th edition of the textbook is newer and more expensive. It retails at $300. In fact, let me just go over there and highlight some things for you there. All right. I went with the moving gears for the background on this one, talking about the gears of economy. I'm getting esoteric there, or esoteric, I guess. So here we have Chemistry, the Central Science, 13th edition. And I can buy the e-textbook. E-textbooks have been the most profitable things for textbook companies. There is very little, if any, manufacturing cost. The thing expires. It cannot be resold. This is the conspiracy of all conspiracies to rob students. $180 for a piece of digital technology that expires in 18 months. Really? That right there is amazing for business and horrible for students. Now, look at the pricing on this. Of course, this is Amazon. You can buy your textbooks really cheap on Amazon. They have 2 left in stock for $100. Retail on it, $300. This is what you would expect to pay for it at the college bookstore. So you have two choices. You can purchase the new one for $100, the used one for $75 with your own money. If you do not have your own money, you put it on your financial aid and pay $300 back plus your cost of your student loans, or I can pay $180 for a piece of digital technology that and generally you cannot print. You can do only a very limited number of prints from these, so it's not like I can buy the book and then take it to Kinko's and print it. You can't. There's a limited number of prints. Of course, it says that there's a $59 option on eText as well. That's probably like a 6-month or something. So I can rent the book, yeah, on my Kindle or whatever else, yeah. And it expires. So if I were to rent this for $60, it would expire in, it looks like 6 months. eText book, I could buy the eText book, but again, it is basically a Kindle type thing. Last I knew, this may have changed, but last I knew, and understand, I was in this industry. These are not portable. They are not transmittable. You buy it on this device. When the device dies, the copy dies. Planned obsolescence at its finest. Robbing the students blind. You either have to pay an excessive amount of money that you do not have or borrow the money, and they know it doesn't matter. The same reason prices for housing is very high in a college town. Because the students are going to buy whatever the college tells them they need to buy. They have to have a place to live. They have to do the classes. They have to do the things, and that means debt. And that's why the average student right now in America is leaving college with $35,000 in student loan debt. And more than half of them cannot find a sustainable job. That's consumerism, planned obsolescence at its finest. What expired in the field of chemistry in the freshman level? Now, I can understand an advanced polymers class needing a new textbook. We're talking about freshman level chemistry. And here's the funny thing. So this is the 13th edition. Let me see if I can find the 12th edition. Textbook companies have been buying up old copies because it keeps the availability low. So let me get out of that and go into, let me just do Chemistry Central Science, and I'm going to do a search for the 12th edition now. Usually you can buy, look at that, the 12th edition is $18 to rent. It's still expensive to buy. That's interesting. Let me look at that. Oh, no, I can buy the used copy for $22. Ah! You know what the difference is? Here's what the textbook companies do. This is their trick. They scramble the problems in the back of the chapter, so when the professor assigns the work, you can't easily do them. Wow. Okay, I think it's time to stop and look at comments for a second. I'm seeing a lot of comment activity today. All right. Let's see. Unity no more, Rip, my friend. Modern LED lights, an illusion. They're also designed to last 3 years. In fact, no one had an LED from any device burn out. You know what? Funny you asked that. I think that LED light on that one side there is burnt out. There's an LED light here. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to have 2 of them. Might be just defective from the manufacturer. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of curious. Other than that, yes, my car stereo, half of it, the one half of it does not work for some reason, which I think is having to do with that. Let's see, bigger laptop than I have. Yeah. All right. My cat is 18. Yeah, mine's not quite that old. Kitty! Lost track of my cat's age, yeah. 2.5 IDD for 18 pounds. Huh. Yeah, tearing that computer apart, though, is a pain. I did it once. Actually, what some people are doing with these old computers is you can get an IDE adapter, and they're actually literally putting little SSDs in an IDE adapter. That's what I've seen most people doing with these computers. And they run a lot better, too. Unscrupulous bozos. Insult of 2017. You unscrupulous bozos! Yes. I'm busy trying to convince my friend he doesn't need to spend 20,000 pounds on a dongle. No, Dongle Pro Plus. That's a MacBook Pro for those that are unfamiliar. But yes, this is the Dongle Book Pro. Hey, Ricardo. I hope you were here long enough to hear us talk about the Lightbulb Conspiracy. Microsoft, another villain. Windows PC, after 6 months, became super slow. Format, reinstall Windows. Bingo. Your PC is at least normal again. Speed again. Yeah, you can actually, if you ran CCleaner, a lot of problems with that was a little bit of defragmentation, but also a registry. Windows is notorious for it's kind of like Windows operating system is kind of like a combination of a klepto/hoarder for the registry files. Whatever could possibly get crammed in a registry file gets in there, and it's very hard to get them out. Running CCleaner and running the registry cleaner that's the best thing to keep a system going. In fact, my Windows 7 computer, I bought it in 2010, and it runs like the day it came out because, every 3 or 4 months I run a CCleaner on it. Had to take one out of my headphones that was loud. Okay. Oh. Sorry. Turn it down as well. Yeah, sorry. I'll try not to yell too much. Yeah, I tried Windows 10, deleted Facebook. It ran update stuff. Yes. Yeah. Okay, Dan. So, you know how many times I uninstalled Candy Crush Saga from my Windows 10 computer? I think I counted 10. I stopped counting. Schools collude with textbook makers. Never forget. It is sort of. Okay. Well, I'll give you a little bit more insight on that, Ricardo, being a former insider in the industry. A lot of professors, they're kind of split down the middle. Some professors, they just don't want to deal with it. And if a textbook company comes by, schmoozes with them, they'll do the textbook. But you are correct. All the textbook company has to do is convince the professor. Once you've convinced the professor that is the book to use, now the students are required to use that particular professor. Or that particular textbook. So the student has to take the class based on the professor. Many times you don't have the choice of the professor. The professor is the captive audience from the textbook company. But it's not the schools per se, except in some cases. So in some schools, it's called a committee decision on what book you use. And so the committee itself has to decide what book's being used. But if it's an individual decision on case of the professor, is that each individual professor, now you have to target the professor. The textbook companies like the individual choice a whole lot better than the committee because it's a whole lot less pressure. Usually whoever gives them either a cheap option for a textbook or schmoozes enough or whatever else is usually the one to make the sale. So that's kind of, and I wasn't generally in the business of selling the textbooks as much as selling the online software. But that's kind of the way it was. And I worked for Macmillan for a period of time. If you are smart enough to use Linux, you should be smart enough to use Windows 10 LTSB. Okay. No Metro apps or store crap. You can reinstall the store only for Xbox games if you need. Yeah, I had a version of Windows 10 where I thrashed the whole Metro complex, which was kind of fun. But then, of course, the anniversary update put it all back on. Yay! Speaking of which, are we ready for the creators update? It's coming this week. In fact, you can manually download it now, I'm told. Sad part is they will most likely assign work out of the book, so you have to correct edition. Actually, this is even the next misnomer. They don't even assign the questions out of that anymore. Almost every textbook now, you're utilizing an online homework solution, and that's one of the reasons you need the latest textbook to line up with the online homework solution. And the online homework solutions it's just extra student expenses. And in my personal opinion, they don't really help you learn. Because there is not an online homework solution yet that allows a student, that will grade a student based on the process and the workflow. And that's what causes you to learn. You do not learn by sitting there and doing, doing problems any haphazard way and then dumping the answer into a computer and saying, is this right or is this wrong? And the more advanced systems, like the ones we had that we sold, the more advanced system, if it was wrong, we could usually predict why it was wrong and give you some targeted feedback. However, it still lacked that pizzazz of actually allowing you to check your actual workflow process. And that's way more important. If a student comes into my office with an answer, I'm like, I have no idea how you arrived. But if they come with their work, I know I can determine how they got there. And having determined how they got there, I can now guide them in the direct step. That is the thing that is missing in the online homework systems. And that is our dependence on all this online stuff is one of those reasons why students are kind of becoming a little bit more brain dead as time goes on. Yes, it's not about the matter of knowing the material. No, it's not about knowing the material. It's about, can you get the correct answer? More regurgitation. And that's one of the contributing factors to me leaving academia. I don't care if you've had algebra. I care if you know algebra. You know, this is the first lab. Like, you go into my classroom, it was kind of like firing squad-ish. You'd come in my very first lab in freshman chemistry, first lab, first semester. I hand you a sealed envelope. It has 10 pennies in it. I want you to tell me how many pennies are new and how many pennies are old, because new pennies and old pennies have a different mass of half a gram. Okay, and so I give you this envelope, and without opening it, you have to come up with a way. Well, the solution is to run a systems of equations. If you remember that from algebra, y equals mx plus b, you have two different equations, solve both equations for one variable, set those equations equally to each other in that one variable. You can solve for how many pennies are new and how many pennies for old. But the student had to figure out how to do that. Well, if you've had algebra, I don't care. I care if you know algebra. Difference. But education is not about knowing anymore. It's about, can you pass the exam? And that's the dangerous part. One of those off-brand Windows 98 machines that has React OS. For some reason, the only OS that would run on it. That's cool. My advice to people today is that knowledge is more important than qualifications. Also getting experience in the field. Absolutely. You know, everything that I'm currently doing, since Macmillan laid off all of us PhDs last year, in the division of selling their software. Since that happened, I have not done anything related to any of the degrees that I have. Okay. And that's kind of the thing. And you know, nobody's ever asked me. Now, I think one person has ever asked me for my degree. Needless to say, I didn't get that job, but it's like, sorry, you know, I don't have a degree in this stuff. You don't need a degree in things. You know, I don't have a degree in YouTube content creation, but I figured out how to make good quality streams. Okay? You just got to figure it out. But it takes turning off the television, plopping yourself in front of a computer and learning something on your own. And that's really the point of it. Use MacBook Pro Retina mid 2014 daily, best laptop I've ever owned. Yeah, that 2014 was not too bad. I think there was a motherboard issue in that particular model, but one of them in that era, maybe it was the 13 or something. But yeah, it's that version was good. The 2000, if you need a MacBook Pro, do it the 2016 or is it 16, 15? I'm forgetting what years now. Yeah, don't do the 16. 16 is horrible. 15's good. 14's good. I think it's the 13 that actually had the problem. Correction, my aunt owns that machine and still uses it sometimes. Okay. We should all do what poor communities do. The student with the money buys the books, the rest scans and prints off all the pages. Yes, actually, I want to say it's either Wisconsin or Minnesota. It's one of those two. I can't remember which one. In fact, I think it's Minnesota. Selling textbooks to college students is illegal. All of the schools have to buy the books from the companies. Needless to say, they get good discounts. And the universities have to hand the students the textbooks for the semester. Now, they can charge a very small rental fee, but it's their way of controlling the insane textbook market. I think that's something that we should do. Make the schools negotiate all this and give the books to the students for a period of time. That would be much better solution than the crap we have now where, you know, I mean, and I get it, you know, needing the books. And me personally, I'm that geek that that I collected my textbooks. In fact, the only reason I have only 30 textbooks on that bookshelf over there is because when I moved, I had to get rid of 2/3 of what I had. But yeah, absolutely. So yeah, textbooks, huge planned obsolescence. Don't really need Windows for anything apart from a game called, is it FIFA? I don't know. But I just stopped playing it. Textbook companies, not professors. Yeah. Busy Learning Server 2012 or 2012 though. Most if not all information is freely available. Yeah, in fact, I mentioned that on my pros and cons of consumerism from the Penn State main campus. If you do need to learn a subject, look at openstacks.org because you can get a lot of free open source textbooks over there, and they're just as good as the other books that are out there. You just don't have to pay for them. I think you can buy a printed copy for like $60 or something, but you can access them for free online. Have to have a goal. You have to be asking the questions that make you learn in the first place, or it doesn't come it all together. It just makes sense. Yeah, absolutely, that's true. You do have to have that goal to want to learn something. If you are goalless, you will live your life like a couch potato. You need to have a goal and then figure out how to make that goal come true. Long-term service branch won't reinstall store bloat. It's designed for schools and colleges, more controlled situations, but still a fully functional copy for personal use. The long-term servicing branch won't reinstall store bloat, but it's designed for schools. Okay, I see. All right. We'll come back to comments in a little bit. Let's get back to the next line in planned obsolescence. Fashion, something I know nothing about. You can ask my friends. I know nothing about fashion. I still wear clothes that are 10 years old or older. In fact, I just had to buy a new pair of pants because I was running out. I went down to Goodwill, picked me up some. But the reason fashion ended up on the planned obsolescence list is that with planned obsolescence, what a lot of people in the fashion world tell me is that all fashion is to get the latest stars to push the latest fashions simply to drive the economy. Fashion itself is such a made-up facade, it really is meaningless. Now, there's a difference, of course, between fashion and having clothes that actually aren't falling apart. And I'm guilty of having clothes that are falling apart, but that's okay. I don't really mind. Yes, I look at it as, I still have way more clothes than half of the world. And so I'm okay with rattier clothes. That's fine by me. And I'd rather spend my income and resources on other things. So I didn't bring that over. I could probably take off my sock here that has a hole in it in the bottom, but you probably don't want to see my sock with the hole in it. I'm just a sneaky suspicion. All right. Hi Cooper Tech. Yes, they found me in your luggage. Yes, Diego, if you missed that, it was the comment he left on my scammer video from last night. Yes, he said he's jumping in your luggage after I get you that free trip from the scammer, who hasn't called me today. No scammers have called me yet today. I'm so bummed out. Maybe one will call me while I'm still live streaming. That'd be fun. Back to tech. Tom's point about subscriptions and leading U.S. to bankruptcy is on point. Create a product and purposely limit the lifespan. Yes, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Forced upgrades or deny essential features, battery dies, and irreplaceable or OS upgrade kills usability. Okay, yes, Bernie, that's exactly what happened with my iPhone 5C, which I was very happy with. But I ran into a problem where something happened and the thing would not keep time anymore. And so I tried several different things. I thought, well, maybe updating the OS would keep the time. Well, that sort of did for a second, and then the phone became so unusable it bricked itself. And so I had to go out and buy a new iPhone. So, of course I bought it used. I'm not going to give Apple money for new products. Because there's enough people out there that are trading in their used stuff for the latest model. I'm just going to go ahead and, take advantage of that. But yeah, upgrades. One of the biggest challenges I have with iOS is there are a lot of security updates that I cannot get the security update without upgrading to the latest iOS. I want the option to keep my phone exactly the way it is, except security updates. But that's too much to be asking for. I don't think the latest upgrade is going to kill an iPhone SE, but I'd still rather not risk it at this point in time. And I just avoid operating systems that have a 10 in it. So iOS 10, no, not touching it. I have iOS 9 on there, and I'm keeping it on iOS 9 for a while. In Aruba, nods. Yeah, the dongle book is like a car you cannot open the bonnet to. Yeah. And advertising and social conformity creates the needs for people to have the latest. Okay. Had a screen issue with my 2014 where the heat from the vents under the screen was causing anti-reflective coating to peel. And you can see the horrible marks at staingate.org. Ooh, maybe that was the problem. One of the only reasons people like subscription services is because they are often cheap per month and per year. Yeah, we're going to get into that, though, in a little bit. I think the motherboard issue with them was something to do with the NVIDIA chips. Yeah, Louis Rossman had a lot of information about that, in which MacBook was affected and what the exact problem was. I forget. An investment in my knowledge pays the best interest. Benjamin Franklin. Yes, an investment in your knowledge pays the best interest, but you do not want to go mortgage your life for a degree that is merely a sheepskin that merely qualifies you to answer regurgitated questions. The academics is not always about truly learning anymore. I wish it were. And I'm not saying I don't agree with college. I'm just saying we have done such a good job in our society of pushing everybody into college, we've never stopped to ask if that's what they need. Because different people need different things, and some people simply are not suited to be in college. Trust me, I've met them. All right, let's see. I'm stuck in my art class for my high school year. I really want to get into computer networking, which there is a class for. Oh, boy. Goal, be a couch potato. Woohoo! Yeah, I like my hat. It's a basic fedora I picked up for like $5 at Walmart, covered in aluminum foil. It totally rocks, so I like it. I should wear it out someday. Yeah, we do need our friendly scammers. iOS gives me hives. Yeah, I know the feeling. RIP to all machines. Windows updates. Bricked. Yes. Planned obsolescence. What if Microsoft was really conspiring to kill 10% of machines in a forced update? Number 10 is pretty bad for operating systems. Yeah, I abhor corporations and moneyed elites dictating how I live. Does it bug anyone that the bottom certificate is wonky? What bottom certificate? How do you feel about companies like AT&T and Verizon locking bootloaders and firmware on their mobile devices when other models of the same phone don't have those limitations? Interesting question. Yeah, I think that's a little scammy. This kind of goes back to the same thing Louis Rossman is a big advocate for, and that is the right to repair. You know, if I go out and I purchase this, and I purchase this device, I paid my own money for this device. If I want to, not rooting, jailbreaking. If I want to jailbreak this iPhone, that should be my right. With the full responsibilities that go with it. In fact, I was trying to remember, my bachelor's degree actually says the degree of Bachelor's of Science with all rights, honors, privileges therein pertaining. I thought it had responsibilities in there because I think the responsibility is one of the things we need to remember, that I would like the option to come in and do whatever I want to this, understanding I may mess it up. And it's not Apple's problem if I mess this up. But I should still have the right to be able to do that. And that is really the thing. So a company that locks the bootloader is kind of a jerky move in my opinion. Thinking Google Glass, but an implantable versus a wearable. Yeah, we're kind of already getting there. In fact, I forgot to look up the article today, but I saw it in the, I think it was on Consumerist yesterday, where there's a company it was overseas somewhere. It might have been Switzerland, but maybe not. But there was a company somewhere that was giving all their employees implants. Now, I think it was a choice, but it's the RFID implants. They kind of go right here, so you get a little injection here, and you have a little RFID chip here. And of course, the applications of these are you can hook up an RFID reader to all sorts of things, like a door lock, so you could just walk up to your house and turn the door. It will automatically unlock for you. And they were, of course, using it to access work functions. You could go up and just scan your hand on the door and open the door to work. And you had all these options using them. But at the same time, that's getting a little creepy. But yeah, the implantable technology is already here. And it scares the bejeebers out of me, to be perfectly honest. Especially they're supposed to be low frequency, but you can still interact with them, especially since everybody's getting these little RFID chips in their fingers. And the whole world just goes RFID chip. The upside is there's really no moving parts. The things are operated by the magnetic fields around them. The downside is when everything in the world has these little magnetic fields, everybody in the world will be able to track who you are, where you are, what you're doing, etc. And that just gets to the creepiness. Tried rooting my own phone for the first time, realizing that Verizon does this. I will never buy carrier firmware device again. Yeah, I usually get unlocked phones from online. I'm not sure if that's going to be the same, although they are still the Verizon or AT&T chipset. But you should still be able to root it, but I don't know. I haven't rooted a phone in 5 years, so I'm not sure. Start of the century with a major scam from the king of scams, the Millennium Bug. That set the tone for the zombification of our nation. Yep. I remember, if you remember Y2K, like the year 2000 happened, like Australia was like, of course, based on how the date lines work, Australia is the first country to go into the new year. Well, there was a major storm in Australia that knocked out power in half the country. People were like, ah! Like, no, it's just a windstorm. Just a windstorm. Of course, I go to a friend's house and their parents give us an electric heater in case the power comes out. Oh, well. Someone didn't quite capture the gist of what might have happened. Pre-installed spyware on their phones gather data. Yeah, LG was actually had a lot of phones with spyware pre-installed on them. The T-Mobile Samsung Galaxy Note 5 that doesn't explode. Woohoo! Ditching Samsung. Used to be a fan of their stuff, but they don't care much for their users. Yeah, they don't. Rabies is all one needs. Woohoo! Everything from Samsung will explode right out of the box. Including their factories, apparently. Including their factories. All right. What else is on my list here? Computers, textbooks, software. Yes, software. I happen to have here, I didn't want to pull it out, but I have an Office 95 right here. Of course, this I got because I was a student, so I was able to get it without, without the excess cost. But this shininess is Microsoft Office XP Professional. Woo! Love it. And I also have, what I'm currently running on a Windows computer is Office Standard 2007. Now this has Outlook on it, which is a product that I need. So we're going to go over and have a look at software now. So here is where we're starting to get into the subscription services. Now I can still purchase a one-time purchase, which may or may not last. We don't know. I can tell you that Office 2010, I personally saw destroyed on several Windows 10 upgrades. 2007 did not seem to be affected by that. But if you had Office 2010 and possibly a couple of ones after that, a Windows 10 upgrade destroyed it because they wanted more people to purchase the latest Office, which of course was constantly thrown at your face. This is planned obsolescence software. Of course, the other software I have my CS2. Of course, this is a student edition for CS2 that I got when I was a student, which was handy. Of course, there's no Dreamweaver on here, so I did upgrade to CS4 Web Premium Edition. So I want to look at software because some of the things that software has been doing. Now, the only offering that I know of that you can still purchase Office, you can buy it for $150. It has Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote. Obviously, we've seen cases where Microsoft can deploy an update that kills software. Office 2010 was killed on one of my friend's computers. I went right in behind him, removed all the ads for Office, and installed LibreOffice. Thank you very much. But the only Office here that you can purchase as a one-time doesn't have Outlook. And that's one of the core programs that I need. In fact, that's the only Microsoft Office program I still use on a regular basis. And I don't like the new versions of it, by the way. The new versions are going kind of the way Apple Mail and Thunderbird, everything's its own little email address. I got too many email addresses. I want them all to filter in one place, and I'm perfectly capable of setting rules to filter them how I want them filtered. So I can either purchase that, or I can purchase $9.99 a month or $100 a year for Office 365, or $69 a year for Office 365 Personal. One application per user per year. Well, I bought this in 2008 when I was a professor at Bucknell. I want to say, since I was a professor, I got a discount on it. I think I paid $100 for it. That's almost a decade of use I got out of this software. Now, I get it. Microsoft is not making money on me all these years. For $100, I bought that almost a decade ago, and it works for me. Or I can pay them $100 a year, every year, or $70 a year every year. Until when? The apocalypse? That's a lot of money to be giving to Microsoft every single month. Of course, those are my only options if I actually want Outlook. It doesn't include Outlook over here. Now, of course, if I'm a business, here's my annual commitments per user per month. You know, I can do a year, I can do a month, I can do these ones here. Of course, the difference is the number of services and things that they have. So, you know, I can get all these cool services for all these certain amounts per month. Now, are these worth it? I don't think so. I don't think any of this is worth it. You know, LibreOffice, completely free, operates the same way, in my opinion. There is maybe 0.1% of users that would use functions that Office has that LibreOffice doesn't. Cloud services, there's many other options out there. Let's go back and have a look at the home again, because I think that's more applicable to people here. So, OneDrive or Skype? Yeah, did you see that Windows is now pushing OneDrive ads in your file manager? Yeah, that's kind of stupid. So this is kind of my option. So in Planned Obsolescence, they're like, okay, we're having the problems. People are buying the software, and then we are not making another customer for that. And the reason is, of course, the features kind of stopped. I had Office 2005, and I was broke, so I had to prioritize my money. Do I want to buy Office, or do I want to buy something else that's more useful to me? Well, I got the offer to get this XP. Probably only cost me $10-20. I forget, but because I was a student, and they had a great deal at the university to get student licensing for those. And so, you know, I had that, and then I have this one here. Of course, I'm not paying them money, and that's what they're having a problem with. Now, there's a point in time when if you start adding features to software, you'll get people to update the software. But at some point in time, people may say, I don't really need more features. So let's go ahead and look at Adobe. So I do have, as I said, I do have Adobe here. And I do have the Creative Suite 4. This is the CS4 Web Premium. And I could not find it for sure, but I think this might have been the accurate price. So $1,700. I want to say it was more expensive than that, but Matt might be right. I paid $1,000 for this because I bought it the day CS5 came out. Amazon had 3 copies left. They were 40, 60% off. Maybe it was 40% off. I paid $1,000. So I saved $700. Maybe that is correct. Saved $700. I bought this. Now, there is nothing in the latest versions of Adobe that I would need to upgrade. Now, would I purchase Adobe for Linux if it were available? If I could get a copy like this that doesn't expire, yes, I would consider it because it'd be worth my time. Because I do find the Adobe suite is more effective than some of the open source softwares. Not all, but some. Nowadays, though, I have no option with Adobe products that I know of to purchase a standalone. It's $50 a month. Now, I can purchase the individual items, like I don't use Illustrator much. I don't use Soundbooth much. I like that I have them, but I don't use them much. So looking at the software packages I might use on a month-to-month basis, Photoshop, Dreamweaver, things like that. So if I were to look around, and you can actually pick up individual software packages for different discounts. So all apps are this. There's single apps here. So if I wanted to pick up, let's see, there's that. So pretty much I'd save myself a few bucks if I just bought just the 2 that maybe it'd be about the same. I get all apps, pay $50 a month. So let's see what my break even would be for that. So let's see here. If I paid $1,000 because I'm actually a savvy purchaser and I'm going to divide that by 50, that's 20 months. Now, I bought this copy in 2010. That was 7 years ago. So, 7 years times 12 months, that's 84 months times 50. If I were doing this by their new model, that's $4,200. That's why they're doing planned obsolescence. They're no longer selling packages like this. They're losing too much money. They want to put you on a subscription service. That's the challenge. All right, let's see what kind of let's see. I got a lot of comments over here. All right. Whole subscription model is cow poopies. Yes. Offers Dan my extinguishing service. Woohoo! Buy Office 365 now. This is the biggest on OS installed on computers. 3 billion pictures have been viewed on photos. Yeah, if you don't know what he's talking about, Microsoft came out with some stats about it, telling you exactly how many photos. In fact, Ars Technica, let's just pull that up. Didn't plan on showing that today, but let's just go there, because in the new Windows 10 update that is out, Microsoft is now quote unquote telling you what information they're finally opening up on, what telemetry they're collecting. Kinda. Of course, this article here never tells you where that's at. So somebody in the comments did dig through and find where Microsoft is talking about that. I want to say this is it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is everything it's collecting, by the way. Wowzers. That's not the thing I was looking for, though. I think it's this one. No, this isn't it either. Bummer. Gotta find it. No, this page is not useful. Okay. Somewhere on the first page of comments. Is this it? Overview with this page going in much greater detail. It's one of these two here. I should have clicked on the other one anyway. That one there. Let's try that. This should be it. All right, so this is the data that they're collecting under the basic setting, I believe. I think this is basic. Common data, OS name, your user ID, Xbox user ID, environment from which the event was logged, HTTP header information, including the IP address, various IDs, device IDs, event collection time, diagnostics level. Okay. Device properties, device capabilities, whether the device has a front-facing, rear-facing camera, or both. Interesting. Device network info, app usage, various types. Like, these are like kind of scary, but it really gets scary when you get down to some of these. Like, product SKU availability, content, developed IDs. Oh yeah, movies, photos app, file source data, local SD card, network device on OneDrive, image and video resolutions, video length, file sizes, types, and encoding, collection view or full screen view, and viewer use and duration of view. For photos you look at on your computers when you are on Windows 10. This is the basic stuff that you cannot turn off. I found the music one particularly interesting. Service URL for a song being downloaded from the music service collected when an error occurs to facilitate restoration of services. The content type, video, audio, or surround audio, local media library collection statistics, number of purchase tracks, number of playlists, region mismatch, user OS region, and Xbox Live region. Of course, if you're into reading, app accessing content and status and options used on a Windows Store book, language of the book, time spent reading content, and content type and size details. Yeah, they know what books you're reading. They're finally telling us about it. Last office I liked was 2007. Yeah, that's why I have 2007. I have no desire to go any further. I get a real P.O. box for cheaper than they're charging for a virtual mailbox. Yes. Yes, indeed. Indeed, that is true. Another scam in video games. Several versions, same game. Call of Duty. Every new release, same as before. And guess what? People buy them. Yes, they do. It is way better to sell the latest franchise than it is to re-educate somebody on a brand new game. In other words, from the business perspective, if a franchise is doing well, like Call of Duty or Skyrim or Halo, if it's doing better, you will get way more bang from your buck by releasing another franchise update, even if it's the same game, than you will be to try and educate the public on the virtues and values of purchasing a new game. Completely valid point. That is planned obsolescence at its finest. Of course, you have to run the latest because all your friends are running the latest in this perfectly online world. Everybody has to be perpetually connected to everybody else because no one will play with you if you still have the old version. You've got to buy the new version for like $80 or whatever they are. $100 a month for Office, $900 a month for this new laptop. One is repair service, buy it $99 a month. Woohoo! I don't have any problems with any DocX files in LibreOffice. Weird things if I have spreadsheets embedded in them, but I can fix those generally. Started doing that too about a year ago. MS makes a fortune with MS Office corporate licenses. Yes. Anything I can't do on Linux, I'm starting to realize I shouldn't be doing anyway. Amen. At some point, I doubt MS will even let us download software anymore. No, they'll let you download it, but it has to be through their store. They want to be the gatekeepers to collect their money. You would like a new program? It must come through our store. Yeah, they're going to get to that point where it's like Android and iOS. You cannot put something on there unless it comes from the store. That's their goal. That is their goal. It is called a walled garden, and that is where Microsoft is moving towards. Cloud is the OS is hosted in the cloud. We as users will have not... Wait, what? Some point I doubt MS will let us download. The more that the OS is hosted in the cloud, the less control we users will have to not have to subscribe. That is correct. That's why subscriptions are going to kill us. Okay, this is not all for our benefit. This is for the benefit of the companies. Okay, it's not to give you better services. It is to make them richer. I'm not saying that I'm not against companies making money. I'm just against a lot of what's going on these days. Okay, the only real thing that's collected on CentOS device is the hidden folder of Sasquatch stuff. Okay, Kerpatech. You and your Sasquatches. Not angry at MS for doing this data collection. At the end of the day, it's their product. They can do what they want. If you don't like it, switch to Linux. Amen. Switch to Linux. Switch to Linux. I switched. So did I. I'm angry at MS for doing this. They forced downloads of Windows 10 and made it hard for most people not upgrade to it. This is true. People did upgrade. They basically had to accept the new data collection practices. That's true. Please post the link of the data collecting so I can read later. Okay, let me see if I can find my history again. Menu bar. And there it is. There's the link. Okay, must abandon MS. I switch to, yes, way to go. Windows 10 traumatized me into permanent CentOS hood. Yes, they traumatized me into permanent Linux Mint hood. Citizens, which distro? I'm on Zorn. I'm thinking of trying Peppermint. Yeah, they're both good. I like them both. Pepper was fine for the first, but became problematic. Messed up my machine. Back on Mint. All right, so let's look at some of the goals. Some of the goals and some of the things. So in goals, I think I ran out of products to talk about. Yeah, that's right. All right, so, oh yeah, here's a neat quote, and this came from an old movie, The Death of a Salesman. This was also from, Lightbulb Conspiracy. When you finally pay for them, they're all used up. It's like cars, anything you finance, you finance something, and one of the goals for everybody for a long time has just been to constantly keep you making payments. All right, when you finally pay for them, they're all used up. All right, so the goal is to get you back to buy the next. Their goal is to make you captive consumers. Become a captive consumer. And a fallacy is, some people say and have argued, that if we didn't have planned obsolescence, the economy would crash. And I say, no, it wouldn't crash. We would be out spending our money on other things. Because if the economy crashes, a saver is going to be a saver, a spender is going to be a spender. Okay? Saver will be a saver, a spender will be a spender. The problem is we're all kind of being coerced into being spenders, oftentimes for things that are becoming necessities in a world where I wish they weren't necessities, but they kind of could be. But what happens is, instead of me going in and having to buy a new computer or a new smartphone or a new whatever, I could, instead, if stuff lasted longer, I could go out and buy something else and expand the sense of what I do. But they don't want us out there expanding. The company wants us to be a captive audience to their product. They want us to get so much liking the product that we have to stop. And we have to examine, like, we'll have to stop and buy a new one eventually. Like, I was not ready to buy an iPhone. I don't have the money to buy a new iPhone, but I gotta have a phone, so I get that. Now, I could have bought something cheaper or reactivated one of my old dumb phones, but I also need to frequently piggyback off my internet or check my email when I'm on the road, etc. All right. Now, the challenges, of course, with this planned obsolescence, number one is it produces excessive amounts of waste. Like, you can't just take your iPhone and throw it in the garbage can. It's got to be recycled in certain ways. And so it produces problems with this excess amount of waste. And understand that planned obsolescence came out around a current time where people, we were thinking that the earth was pretty much abundant resources. Well, we will eventually run out of resources on Earth if we're not careful. It's not being good stewards to intentionally make a product that will break in a couple years that becomes difficult to recycle because it has dangerous components. And so we need to keep that in mind as we're going on. So I found a few articles out there that were interesting, and let me do a quick double check on the comments, make sure we're not missing anything here, and then we're going to jump over there with some concluding remarks and tips, etc. Diego's monthly Mint test comes up positive. Yes. New line to fix screen tearing. That should be there by default. Huh. I think the only problem I've encountered is on Linux Mint 18. There was a problem where selecting the audio input would not save. There was an error in the Python file, which was a simple one line to fix. There's instructions on it. I posted it on there somewhere, but lots of Minty love here. Yes, Mint is awesome. Linux Mint rocks. Connecting to Peep Enterprise Wi-Fi is long. I need to add it as a hidden network. Yeah, my network is hidden, and I don't have any problems at all in Mint. I did have problems on my Linux Mint 17.3 connecting to a VPN. Other people have said they haven't had that problem, so it must have just been my computer, but that's what caused me to upgrade my main laptop to 18.0. I think it's on right now. Love it. You know, I thought the upgrade from 17.3 to 18 was all positive. Planned obsolescence equals modern slavery. Amen to that. MS messing up my laptop drove me to Linux. I started with Ubuntu, moved on to Mint. Yes. Yeah, and actually, thanks Ricardo for actually pointing me to the Lightbulb Conspiracy and starting this whole thing anyway. Big awesome there. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and look at... whoop, I was not supposed to do that. I accidentally closed an article I did not want to close. Where's it at? There it is. Okay. So we're going to have a look first. We're going to look at, this is an old article from Ars Technica. This is January 2014. But I loved this article. Smart TVs, smart fridges, smart washing machines. Disaster waiting to happen. So in op-ed, hardware companies are generally bad at writing software and bad at updating it. So if you want to read this article on your own, there you go. So this article is, and I read through this, I'm not going to read all of it right now, but the author here is making the argument that, you know, there's certainly some smart things out there that are good. So a phone is a good example of a good, positive, smart thing. Having a microcomputer in my pocket is a good thing. I like it. I like the options. There's some scariness to it, but I think that the potential scariness is outweighed by the definite usefulness. And that's one of the comments he made in here. Smart TV, he makes the argument to say, okay, maybe this is okay too. But changing your smart TV, not because it's become obsolete, but rather instead because it's become just outdated, that's a problem. But the biggest problem is that software companies and hardware companies are notoriously horrible at upgrading software. And when they do, sometimes they mess stuff up. Like, remember that whole Nest debacle a couple years ago in January? Like, Google Nest, smart thermostat. All these snowbirds that have smart thermostats in their houses, they can control it with their smartphones and are in Florida. Yeah, Google released an update in January that bricked the things, and so they can no longer control their thermostat from their smartphone. That's a problem. So he goes through here, and he's talking about this, and this is the biggest problem. As we're talking about this move into IoT, we have to consider that planned obsolescence is something that's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. More and more and more of a push. Mostly due to lack of firmware, computers breaking down. Like, you know, a refrigerator does not need a computer. A dial will work just fine. You can build a refrigerator that lasts 20 plus years, but your average refrigerator now lasts, if you get 5 out of it, you're lucky. And that's an expensive device. I'd rather pay $1,000 for a device that lasts 20 years and have it seem and look old, ugly, and outdated, but still work, than pay the same amount or more for a smart refrigerator that can email me what my grocery list is because I happen to drive near a grocery store, which is creepy. But at the same time, the thing will break down either because A, it's hacked and has become part of a botnet and is sending out spam, or the computer system breaks, or maybe the server just goes down. Like, remember when Google bought that one? I forget exactly which device it was. It was a Nest competitor. They bought it up, and then they closed the server down, and everybody that had one had to buy something else. Like, a perfectly good thermostat was shut down because they shut the server down. That's the problem with this IoT stuff, is you can do that kind of stuff. All right. Now, of course, there was he mentions in here things like, do we really need smartwatches? Smart cars is kind of creepy. Like, do we drive down the road, and then a guy sends a text message to our car, to our phone, which communicates to our car to seize up the brakes? That's bad, but it's doable. All right. Not all devices are as trivial as TVs. Cars are increasingly computerized. They're also really insecure in ways that unambiguously compromise safety. Smart cars, as distinct from oh-so-cute smart cars, boosting their own internet connections and rich software platforms are only going to make it worse. Worse doesn't seem that car companies take software security seriously. All right. If you want to participate in the Internet of Things, it's your choice. Your choice will be to send your perfectly good car to the crusher or let any bored hacker disable your brakes, probably by sending you a text message or something equally insane. The sensible option? Don't participate in the Internet of Things. Take out the SIM, turn off the Bluetooth, and it's the perfectly good sat-nav app that your phone has. All right? I like the balance in this argument because he's not saying connected anything is bad, but he is saying connected everything is bad. And that's the thing. We need to remember, connected anything is not necessarily bad. Connected everything is horribly dangerous for us as people, for us as a society. And we have to keep that in mind. Another great article here was from BBC of just a very nice, fairly balanced view. Here's that Sentinel light bulb. So here's the link to that. I'm going to post all these in the description here when we're done. All right. Audio is breaking up. Uh-oh, is audio breaking up, or is it just him? Is my mic sounding choppy now? That's not good. Ah, bad stream. Okay, it says it's... Oh, well, hold on. That again. I got good stream, then I got bad stream. Let me go check the internet connection. The unfortunate thing is doing these ones, I got to move my little desk where this is at. I'll be right back. I'm going to check my internet real quick. Internet looks okay. Still getting bad notices. Okay. Yeah, I got 3 notices. It was good. My internet looks good, so I'm just double checking the internet. And let me double check OBS settings. Make sure a setting didn't get changed back. It's possible one of my settings got changed back. Output. Oh. All right, let's see if that fixes it. Let me check that again. Okay, are we back? It's going to be about another minute before I get another stream health report. Are we back? Sounding better? Sounding better? Looks good, sounds bad. Okay. Adobe, another master of planned obsolescence. No? Not better? I'm going to wait for one more stream health report. Then I'm going to see what I can do. The other day, my settings on OBS reset as I was building scene collections to build a series of different things. And what happened is it reset some of my settings, including my keyframe, which is actually important for YouTube. Sasquatch and a Vice. When I went double screen, it started. Okay, is this better? How's this? Is this looking better? Check 1, check 2. All right, we're going to go ahead and run like this. Some people are getting some challenges. Some people are not getting some challenges. I'm waiting for another screen health report to come through. People said it was when I switched over, so I'm going to get rid of myself for a second and see if that does anything. My settings reset my keyframes, and I think that the keyframes are messed up, and that's what the problem is. But I can't change it midstream. All right. I have a diploma in graphic design. Want nothing to do with Adobe Creative Suites. Okay. Still getting bad keyframes. Yeah, I can't change the keyframes midstream. We're gonna go ahead and see if this helps here. But anyway, this one was here. Now the last thing that I think is a challenge with planned obsolescence is what I'm going to call forced obsolescence. Forced obsolescence. So here's a funny article. This caused a little bit of backlash, but this guy here, he has this IoT garage door opener, and a customer said the thing sucks on a review. And so the guy who still just runs a little bit of like a one-man operation, blocked him from accessing the network and literally bricked his device. Now, he reversed it since then, but this raises another issue of, are we producing a system that allows for us to be forced into obsolescence? This is a case where IoT and any IoT device can be forced into obsolescence. They can say, oh, device ID X, gone. And device ID X is gone. Obviously, Galaxy or Samsung did this with the Note 7s, of course, because the Note 7s had this, small problem of exploding. And what they did on this problem with exploding is they eventually pushed out a forced update which bricked the phones. Obviously, they did that for safety, but I have a Galaxy S5. What if they decide, this guy's on an S5, and he's been on an S5 for a couple of years, and he apparently likes his S5. But then they just decide that they're going to they should brick the thing to make me buy a new one. Well, that's forced obsolescence. They could very well do that. And with that in mind, now we're kind of getting some scariness there, where they could very well get to the point where any IoT device, any computer, any issue, any problem, anything internet connected, the company that owns it, especially since we signed EULAs and they basically still own it, can take a device that we purchased and they can force it to be bricked. Forced obsolescence. That is a scary point. Now, what can we do about this? I have 5 points. I only had 3 when I started, but I have 5 points. One of these, I guess, maybe I only have 4 points. But one of my points is that where you can, pay in cash. Don't worry about putting a lot of things on credit, especially, you know, the one of the dangers with subscription services, of course, is now we're so far in the consumer's mindset. We are putting so much on our credit cards. It's like, oh, what's 10 a month? Oh, what's 10 a month? Before we know it, we could have $100, $200, $300 a month in basic subscription services. And that is a scary thing. So the next point I'm going to make, and this is the point that, another one of the points that I did not have on my list when I started, so I don't have a slide for it, but buy used. When you can, buy used. It does a couple things. First, you're not paying the inflated prices for everything that you're doing now. And that's kind of a challenge, that we have inflated prices all over the place. And we don't want to get to the point where we're trying to fight with the latest trends in consumers. So buy used when you can. It gets you out of the habit of always having the newest and the latest and the greatest. It'll be a better plan for you. All right. So the next thing is we're going to question what things you need. Reduce the need for gadgets. Okay, one of the key factors that I'm doing in the cooking channel that I'm developing is I'm trying to show how much you can really do in your house without gadgets. And that is a point that we have to keep in mind. Without gadgets. Reduce the need for gadgets. Remember this time-honored lesson. The more stuff you own, the more your stuff owns you. So I'm not saying go live in a cave and throw everything out. What I am saying is question what things you need and reduce the amount of clutter around your life, reduce the amount of appliances, reduce all that kind of stuff. Like I have a bread machine, but I've been working on making handmade bread again without it as an experiment to see can I get it about the same. And frankly, I like the homemade bread better without the bread machine because I don't have that stupid thing in the paddle hole in the bottom, because it renders, if I want to make a sandwich out of that bread, it renders half of the loaf of bread completely useless because of that hole in the saddle in the bottom due to the paddle breaking the bread apart. But if you make it in a pan, it's all consistent throughout and it cuts a whole lot better universally. So, reduce the need for gadgets. The next thing you want to consider doing is go dumb where possible. We're not talking in court about being stupid, making bad choices, but if you have the choice between a smart TV and a dumb TV, get the dumb TV. If you really need a media center up there, buy yourself a $30 Raspberry Pi, install open source media center on your Raspberry Pi, connect that to your TV, now you have a Linux powered smart TV. Bingo. That's probably a much better option than other things out there. So keep that type of stuff in mind to go on. Use dumb where possible. Don't get a smart refrigerator. That thing will be on the botnet in a week. Okay, it's going to be out. It's sending poor Aunt Mildred or Aunt Eula scammy emails, and you don't want that. You don't want your refrigerator bothering people. Same thing with your microwave oven or your blinds. You just do not need your blinds sending mass emails as part of a botnet. Nor do you need your blinds trying to hack the government or something. I don't know. That's crazy. But it could happen. It could happen. So use dumb where possible. Is it really that much effort to open the blinds with your hands and close the blinds with your hands? I know how cool it'd be to sit right up in bed and pull your smartphone and all the blinds open. That's kind of creepy, especially if you sleep like Cooper Tech. That'd be really creepy if you open up all your blinds. But consider that. And then the third option is, repair what you can. Learn how to repair. Repair if possible. Remember those times when VCR repair people existed? Because we had a culture that was not a buy it new if it stops working. We had a culture that was a We had a culture that was a whole lot more about repairing what we had, saving the money. You didn't want to buy a new VCR just because the VCR broke. You took it to a place to get it repaired. We got to find ways and resources where we can do that again. Repair what you can. See what you can. You know, it goes kind of for cars. Getting an older car might be easier to repair than a new computerized thing. You know, stuff like that. So those are my tips and my tricks about planned obsolescence. Be wary, it's out there. You know, they're trying to get you on subscription services. They're trying to get you so addicted to their products. They're trying to make you a captive consumer to their particular brand. Resist it. Just resist it. All right, let's do one final look through on the comments. This is like the longest stream I've ever done. This is kind of cool. I hope we're all having fun. Other than I'm still getting bad stream notices, but hopefully it's okay for people. And will be fixing the setting as soon as I'm done here. The problem is there's a setting in OBS you have to change, and I forgot to change it back after all my other settings were wiped this week. So I'll get that fixed back for next time. All right. Wow. This is... If they took my Volvo hostage, they'd regret it. It's a pain. Have another laptop. I started having problems with it about the time Windows 10 release. Yep. Had an aunt named Eula. Once had a fax machine, and at exactly 10 years to the day, it stopped working. That is suspicious. Did she have a binding arbitration? When you get older, your points fade. Logan's Run, a film about obsolescence of humans. Yeah, I think Elon Musk is trying to make us obsolete too. You know, he does have a point, but the hat hides it. First rig was all used parts. Yeah, this one's mostly used. I think the graphics card's new. The SSD is new. I think everything else I salvaged from other places. No, I think, I bought the IC dock, and I think the DVD-ROM was used. I can't remember. PS with a little troubling teeth. Hey, no problem there. I keep it real dumb. Yeah. Certified refurbished will save you as much as used many times. You can still get a bit of time if you have issues to return it, sometimes even a warranty. Yep. Science fiction writers of the 50s. Machines will serve humans. Reality this century. We are slaves to the machines. I think there's some truth in here. Kind of scary, isn't it? Kind of like a colobus monkey. Why do I need my fridge on the internet anyway? Because you have to have the fridge on the internet so that it texts you that you are low in milk when you pass by a grocery store based upon your geo-tracking location. Why do you not know this? Or when you're sitting there in the boring meeting at work, you can pull up your phone, pretend to be paying attention, and you can boot the thing up and be looking at your smart refrigerator's internal camera and light system so you can be planning dinner. Legitimate reasons for having a refrigerator on the internet. Outstanding. Good choice. Those I lurk outside his blinds. Yes, Cooper Tech. You and that Sasquatch of yours. Old tech lives matter. Well, now we're just getting to become hate speech here, you know. Resole your shoes rather than buy new. Yeah, well, I did Gorilla Glue new soles on the bottom of my boots the other day. Does that count? RLM fixes my VCRs. Finding a repairman is rare these days. This is true, but if you have a broken Mac, Louis Rossman. Awesome tinfoil hat. Thanks. Not sure if you're talking about the stream or the hat, but yes, I'm having a good time on the stream. I hope you guys are having a good time on the stream too. I wish it'd stop telling me I had bad stream status though. That's such a bummer. My fault. I didn't double check all my settings before I started. They won't subscribe me. Get streamed. Problem is manufacturers are making it harder to fix your own devices. That they are. That they are. Built all my computers since around 2004. That's awesome. The end goal is to chip us all, and then you subscribe to keep your brain chip working. I believe that might be Elon Musk's goal. Yeah. My friend is addicted to his phone and Facebook. It's scary. Ooh. I see zombies all around. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Were we streaming? I'm sorry. I got iZombied. Everybody ever watched that show, iZombie? Pretty cool. I liked it. Yeah. The lady Liv was a zombie. She was a medical examiner, so she ate brains and took on the characteristics of the people to help solve crime. It was good, enjoyable. Best for you, son. Tell my girlfriend when I went to the party. Yep. Well, it used to be years ago about the shoes. I was referencing the old days when you were talking about that. And I try not to carry it on my body. That is weird. Sleep time. See you later. Bye, Ahmed. Logic named Joe by Murray Leinster. Huh. All right. Well, I think we've come to the end of this one. This is a long stream. I've had a good time. I hope you guys have had a good time as well. When is the next stream? Friday. I am always trying to stream live news updates on Friday, and there's a lot of neat little things in the news today. In fact, I got a little caught up in reading some of the neat articles from today. But yeah, Friday is when I'm planning the next stream, and it should be 9 o'clock New York time, 9 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock New York time. That's the next. I'm working on getting some ways for the channel support up. I'm not huge on like subscribe to me and stuff, but if you subscribe, it does help. And I do have an Amazon affiliates account up there. So if you do buy things on Amazon and you want to help support what we're doing at Switch to Linux, the link is in the description of most new videos. Not all of them new yet, but most of the new videos. And I'm working on finding a time to look into and setting up Patreon type stuff. And we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm trying to close up here, Cooper Tech, and I just read you and your Sasquatches. But anyway, I'm trying to work on finding a time to do some Patreon stuff and other ways that you can support the channel out if you want to do that. But anyway, with all that being said, thanks everybody for a great evening, and I will catch you on the next time around.